Hi, this is Frode, and welcome back to Actualize Notes TV. Today we have another great book, The Heart of the Buddha's Teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh. The Heart of the Buddha's Teaching. Subtitle, Transforming Suffering into Peace, Joy and Liberation. Thich Nhat Hanh is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, poet, and peacemaker who actually got the Nobel Peace Prize from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Pretty awesome. And in this book, he teaches us, as the subtitle suggests, how we can transform our suffering that we all have into peace, joy, and liberation. And as I was reading this book, I was actually flying to a Vipassana meditation retreat in Finland. And Vipassana retreats teach us a technique that the Buddha actually discovered 2,500 years ago for how we can relieve ourselves of our suffering. And so I'll create a video in about a month after I've seen the benefits of a Vipassana meditation retreat, and then you might get inspired to go to such a retreat yourself. At least I highly recommend it from what I've seen right now. And I think you'll love the book if you're into ancient wisdom. We have already covered a lot from the ancient Stoics, Socrates, and Seneca, and we also covered from Confucius and Lao Tzu. So I figured that this group of friends would not be complete without the Buddha. So for now, we'll dig into the 5 practical big ideas I found in the book. 5 of my favorites. First one is 4 Noble Truths. Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that the 4 Noble Truths are really the cream of the Buddha's teaching. And these 4 Noble Truths are suffering. Suffering. We all have suffering to some extent, even if it can be physical pain, mental pain, or emotional pain. We all have it, and Thich Nhat Hanh says that the best thing to do is to realize the presence of suffering and acknowledge that it's there. We don't want to try to avoid suffering, we want to see that it's there. Next, we have the origin, or the roots, or the causes of suffering. What is really causing our suffering in our bodies and minds and emotions. And these origins come from all the food or nutriments we take in to our body, to our minds, and into our consciousness, and through our intention, something we'll talk more about soon. So we want to discover the origins, and then we have the cessation of suffering. And the cessation can only happen if we stop doing the things that are causing our suffering, the origin of our suffering. Which leads us to our last one, the path to relieving ourselves from suffering. And it says that the path is, the Buddha created something called the Noble Eightfold Path, where he describes 8 ways of acting that will help us transform our suffering. And you can check out the book for more on those, but right now we want to focus on how are you currently suffering? Are you having some physical pain somewhere? Or are you feeling emotional pain, sad, hurt, anger, or fear, or hatred? And what do you think is the cause of that suffering? What might be the root cause? Why are you feeling that physical pain, or mental pain, or emotional pain, as I said? For example, for about 2 years ago, I had been suffering in my hip for quite some time. And I discovered that the root cause of that was that I was sitting for hours, many hours, every single day. I was basically never moving, except from when I was going from place to place. And what I discovered was that when I would get up every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes, alternating between sitting and standing up, or almost all day long. Sometimes I would stand or only sit for 90 minutes in a stretch. But when I would alternate, eventually after 3 to 6 months, the pain has gone completely away. And now I almost never feel pain in my hip. This can also work for your shoulders and neck. So you could try experimenting yourself if you're feeling physical pain there. Alright, let's go on to the next big idea. 4 Noble Truths. Nutriments. So there are 4 kinds of nutriments that can be the origins of our suffering. And they are edible food, they are sense impressions, everything we take in through our ears, our nose, our ears, everything we feel. Then we have our intention, what we are trying to accomplish, everything we are trying to accomplish through what we do. It can be that I want to help you actualize right now, and you might have an intention of actualizing your life, probably. And we have the last one, consciousness. This can be individual, your own thinking. You can ruminate on the past or worry about the future, or you can stay happily in the present. And it's on a collective level, consciousness. You can have, if you have a good society or a community of friends, good friends that help you grow, then it'll be much easier for you to grow than if you have friends that pull you down. So think about these. What kind of physical foods are you eating? And how are they making you feel? When you have eaten a meal, do you feel like you are very tired, like your mind is very unclear, or actually feel sad or depressed? These are not very normal. These are normal symptoms, but they are not good symptoms, because they show you that there is something that you're eating that's making you feel bad. And what I've discovered after reading Eat Fat, Get Thin by Dr. Mark Hyman is that I was eating a lot of carbs, much bread, a lot of flour, a lot of sugar, a lot of processed foods, and they were making me feel bad, a lot of pasta. And Eat Fat, Get Thin basically says the whole story of the book. If you eat more fat, you can get thin, and you can also feel a lot more energized and healthy and well. So you can check out that episode if you're currently feeling bad when you eat. Then your impressions. I want to focus on these two, food and impressions. What are you taking in through your ears? What are you seeing? In short, what do you notice all of the advertisements, the news, and how all of the movies are affecting you? Are affecting your mood, your thinking, and how you feel about yourself. Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that that all the advertisements and movies are really bad for us, most of it, because it's not really helping us for our spiritual growth or growth of any kind. It's just showing us people being tortured, being killed, and on the news that are showing us actual people being killed and bad catastrophes that happen. And what news are really doing is that they remind us of our own mortality, that we are going to die someday. And nobody likes to being reminded that they're going to die, right? So they create a fear response in our mind. News does. I actually never watched the news. I decided about 2 years ago, and it was quite cool how much more peaceful every day became when I wasn't worried every single time I had watched the news. So what are you taking in through your senses? How can you swap out some news, TV shows, and maybe some advertisements that you always watch with a good book that will help you improve one area of your life that you're curious about? Or you can take a good walk in nature and just feel happy about it. Okay, well, meandering a bit about today. It's a long time since I have created one of these videos, but we'll get into it. Hope you find it useful. 3. Perception. This is a really cool one, and the Buddha tells us that where there is perception, there is deception. In other words, we can't really be true of what we are seeing, hearing, or feeling is really true. We might be distorting it through our subjective understanding. And when I was at the Vipassana meditation retreat, I actually experienced this 3 times. So, long story short, there was an American, a Spaniard, and a German. I didn't know that they were from those countries or who they were before in the retreat, because during those 10 days we can't talk to anyone, we can't make eye contact with anyone, we can't use any electronic devices, because we want to look into ourselves and experience the truths that are all the sensations that are arising and passing away, and want to get really mindful of our breath. So there was this American that I saw was moving quite abruptly around, and he was eating really quickly, and I saw that he stared at me. It felt like he stared at me, and it felt really uncomfortable, as if I was doing something wrong. So I felt a bit annoyed. Then I discovered, fast forward 10 days later, that exact same guy came and told me that I really like how you walk so mindfully. You seem so relaxed. So he gave me compliments, and I discovered that that guy was a really good guy to talk to. And I started liking that person. So I went from annoyance to understanding and compassion. Compassion because I discovered that he had ADHD, which explains his more abrupt and quick movements. Then you have the Spaniard, who came sitting down next to me a few times as we were eating, and he also seemed to stare at me. And I was thinking, well, am I doing something wrong? And got a bit annoyed again. And then, 10 days later, that same guy came over to me, and he gave me a compliment on the mindful and slow way I was eating. And I also started liking that guy, and he gave me some good advice on traveling. Then we have the German. Every time I was walking past this German out in the backyard, he was seeming a bit sad, and I felt like I was doing something wrong since I was smiling and laughing to myself. Good having one's own company, eh? And 10 days later, that guy came over to me, beaming with joy, and he said, "You gotta be the most light-hearted and happy person on this whole retreat. Every time I saw you, I was became so happy." And my mind was blown once again. I thought this was this sad guy who meant that I was doing something wrong, but I wasn't. He became happier every time he saw me. So this just proves that, again, as the Buddha said, where there is perception, there is deception. In other words, can you be entirely sure that what you're seeing, hearing, or feeling is actually true? Or if it's just distorted by your subjective understanding? Good idea to think about. And 4, the highest protection. This is a good idea. Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that some health agencies have created advertisements that say that they want to get us to consume things more moderately. So they say, instead of having 3 glasses of wine, stop with the first one. But Thich Nhat Hanh says that it's the highest form of protection is not having the first glass of wine. For ourselves, for how we feel, for our bodies, for our emotions, and also for our friends and our family and our communities, because how we feel and what we consume will impact how we make others feel and what they consume. So, it's that the highest form of protection, again, is not having the first glass of wine. And Seneca, the ancient Stoic philosopher, said, "Abstinence is easier than temperance." The Roy Baumeister, author of Willpower, who is a leading researcher on willpower, says that we want to create bright lines. We have really bright lines that determine how much we are willing to take in, how much food we're going to eat, what types of food we're going to eat, everything, what habits we are going to do, and what habits we are not going to do. And those bright lines will make it really clear for our future selves of when we have crossed the line. For example, I'm going to drink less. That's really fuzzy line. Or I'm going to stop eating so much sweets. Those are really fuzzy lines. Really bright lines would be, I'm never going to drink again ever. Or I will only eat sweets Saturday nights after 6 p.m. So what are some bright lines you can create for yourself to make your future, make it really clear for your future self when you have crossed that line for how you want to behave? Okay, get clear on that. Remember, the highest form of protection is total abstinence. And our last big idea, how we compound pain. Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that the Buddha tells us that when we are stricken by an arrow, we feel quite some pain. But if another arrow hits us in the same spot, the pain multiplies 100-fold. It becomes a lot more painful. And the practical application for us is that when somebody insults us, we feel pain. But when we get angry and start hating the other person, we feel 100 times more pain. because we are repeating the bad thing that they did to us again and again and again, ruminating on the past, instead of just accepting what happened and moving on with our lives. Got a roll tongue there. And in the same way, when we feel some physical pain, for example, in the head, in the heart, you have these heart stings sometimes, right? At least I do. Or in our stomach, we all immediately think that this might be cancer. But it's much better to stop at the physical pain. We want to seek the origins of the pain. But we don't want to start worrying about having cancer immediately when you feel some pain. So how we compound pain is through our imagination. As Epictetus said in Discourses, he gives the metaphor of when he's out at sea. He imagines that he is going to entire the whole sea if he falls overboard. But actually, about 3 pins of water would pretty much kill him and do him in. So we compound our problems. How are you compounding your problems? Get clear on that. As you create the highest form of protection for yourself, total abstinence, or really bright lines. Perception. Can you be sure that what you are perceiving is actually true about people or events? Nutriments. What are you eating? What are you taking in through your senses, feeding your mind with? What is your intention? Do you have a good one or only a selfish one? And consciousness. Are you staying in the present instead of ruminating on the past, worrying about the future? And are you with good friends who help you grow? And our last big idea, 4 noble truths. We all have suffering. We want to discover the roots of suffering. We want to stop doing the things that cause suffering. And we do that by practicing the Eightfold Path. Noble Eightfold Path. Alright, for now, what is the favorite idea that jumped out at you, that really resonated with you, that inspired you to take some action? And what is the first step you can take toward applying this idea more consistently in your life starting today? Alright, get on that. And our next book will be on the Dhammapada, another book on the Buddha's teachings. It's a translation by Thich Nhat Hanh, just so we know. Alright, thank you very much for listening and watching this video. I'm looking forward to share more wisdom with you soon. Have another awesome day, and let's actualize so we can change the world together. See ya.
Hi, this is Frode. You might know me from the work I do on YouTube, but I also want to tell you that you can gain access to a ton of more wisdom at my website, Actualizer.me. And here, I focus all of my energies on answering the question, how can I help you actualize your life on a day-to-day basis? Because I know that even though you want to actualize your life and develop yourself, you're too busy to read all day. And that's why I'm all about sharing wisdom made practical. Fun, inspiring, and practical wisdom you can apply to your life immediately. And I do it through something I call Actualize Notes, which include big ideas from 100 plus of the best and most transformative books on optimal living. It's notes from a fellow actualizer who wants to embody and help you embody these ideas more consistently in your life. And these actualized notes include 100 plus practical PDFs, which is 6-page PDFs with condensed wisdom ready for use. And these are recorded into 100 plus MP3 guides, because all ANs are recorded as MP3 so you can actualize on the go. I also create 10 to 20 minute ANTV episodes, which I upload on YouTube. And these are again converted into MP3 files, so you can get access to them on the Actualize podcast. And all this work includes over 750 big ideas from ancient philosophers, modern scientists, and your own common sense, explained for easy use. You can gain instant access at my website, Actualizer.me, and you can get a free 30-day trial, and then it will be $10 per month. You can cancel it whenever you want, and I price the membership program so low, so you can tap into practical wisdom no matter how you're standing financially. Alright, I hope you'll join me on this hero's journey of actualizing our potential. See ya.